And then it goes silent because she can't actually cry. And they're just sitting there like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then an awful shriek of agony that pierces the souls of these burly men standing there. Ah! Anyway, what's up, everybody?
Hello, friends.
We are definitely doing Holmes today. And after this one, then we'll be in the murder castle.
Yeah.
Which is like what everyone knows.
Is this the second Holmes or third Holmes? Or fourth Holmes?
I think it's the fourth, actually.
All right, y'all gonna have to catch me up.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I don't know if we've done any without you, though.
Oh.
What do you remember?
Don't. I remember. No, I do. No, I've definitely done at least two.
So the last one, maybe we covered one without you during a week one time. But so where we left off, he had started doing some fraud schemes with like insurance fraud.
I think I remember that.
And he had, there was a guy that he basically worked with to make it look like it was a death. And I think, if I remember correctly, it actually was. But his wife was in on it, so didn't know that the guy actually died. Just thought he was off in, like, England somewhere.
Okay.
And
is this the pharmacy episode? Or is that the second one?
No, that was the second one we did. And so there were also children who were unaware of the scheme who identified the teeth correctly from this guy. Correct? Am I getting this all fucked up?
Fuck, I don't know.
So the kids were like, no, I think the guy that the bones, because it was like an explosion or something like that. They're like, no, this is actually Dad. So I think how we left it was Holmes was like, shit, I gotta take care of these kids. Take care of.
Oh no. All right.
The wife thinks that the father is like safely escaped to England or whatever while the whole case cools down.
Got it.
The wife, Carrie, thinks that her husband was in on it. $10,000. They were going to fake his death, and $10,000 would be like $60,000 today. Anyway, Alice, the oldest daughter, is the one that identified her dad, and what it was supposed to be is, since it wasn't supposed to be Benjamin Pitezel, her real dad, on the slab, they called bullshit and noticed that this may be fraud, so they got Alice to identify it, and she identified that as her father. So now Holmes has to separate mama and children from each other so Alice doesn't reveal to mama that was daddy on the slab.
Got it. Okay.
At the same time, both Holmes and Carrie have to run from the authorities because they've been found out about this insurance scam, because this guy in prison who was a bank robber, a famous bank robber, was supposed to get a cut and he didn't. So he outed Holmes, because when Holmes was in prison, he told this guy his plan. So now you have this situation that's really weird. And by the way, this is the hardest case I have ever done, because it's so much, like, so many places that he goes. And not only does he go these places, but he says he's going other places and to make diversions. And it's just so fucking confusing.
Got it.
Anyway, at this point, Holmes has to keep mom and children separated from each other. At the same time, he has to travel with both of them, telling mom that they're traveling to London to meet her husband, who was dead, which she didn't know, and at the same time avoid authorities. So Holmes is booking a hotel not only for himself and Alice and Nellie and Howard, the three other children. He is also simultaneously booking another room in the same town without the wife knowing that they're right there. So it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because this is 1890. Try to book a room or a house for two different people in a city that you're not even in yet. You know what I'm saying? And try to coordinate it at the same times where you'll be right next to each other, but they won't know they're both there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How hard is that? I mean, holy shit. I mean, the guy is meticulous, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's where we're at.
So before we get started, officially,
yes,
getting back into it, we have some festivities.
We do.
We need to
Well, first of all,
Again.
hey friends, it's been a while. So today we're shouting out.
His mouse is moving what's on my computer. So.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that.
So today we are shouting out Josh, who is our newest small taco. So thanks, Josh, for joining.
Hey, Josh.
And then, of course, our surprise shot tradition continues. This is for Sydney today.
Sydney!
Does anyone else have any announcements?
I don't think so.
Cool. Okay. Surprise shots. Surprise shots. We don't know what they are because they're a surprise.
It's been so long since we've taken a shot.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I hope you were gentle. You weren't.
I mean,
There's no
weren't.
smell to it.
sorry. I hate that. That was terrible. I couldn't think of anything else.
So
What was that?
It was vodka.
I mean, yeah, it was.
Really?
Yes.
That normally does not bother me.
All right, so at this point, Holmes is on the run from the law. He is wanted not only for murder for this Benjamin Pitezel, his partner that was supposed to be in on this insurance scam, who is actually dead on the slab. He's wanted for that. Plus, the insurance company wants to find him and prosecute him. Not only that, but Detective Frank Geyer, who was the reason Holmes gets caught in the long run, he's worried about the one thing that's the most important thing ever. Okay, Holmes went to the wife, Carrie, and requested to take 3 of her 5 children away. Where the hell are they?
And you left the other 2?
No, the other 2 are with Carrie, the wife.
Got it.
All right, so at this point, he's got to keep both parties, him and Carrie, the wife, separated, and they're traveling the country. She thinks they're going to go reunite with the husband. He's just biding time. He knows he's got to eventually off all the other parties, no witnesses.
No witnesses.
And the best way to do it is to keep Carrie in the dark, have her not know that her husband's on the slab. And the best way to do that is to control the kids, the 3 kids that actually know that daddy's on the slab.
I do have a question, though. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Was he intimate with Carrie? Is that why she was in on it? Or he just told them as a quick way to make money? Like, why would she trust him so much to take these kids? Like, did he have an affair with her? Because I remember in the second episode, he was having an affair with the people about the pharmacy.
So at this point, adding in another factor, Holmes is married himself.
Right.
Traveling with his wife, too.
Okay.
So it's going to be extra hard. He never had an affair with Carrie, but he's known her husband and the family for over 8 years, as you'll see, and he's been like a second father to the children.
Okay, so they already have that element of trust.
Yeah, they've known each other for nearly a decade. That was a good question. You guys know what's going to happen. He can't keep these kids alive, obviously. So you know what this episode's about, and it ain't pretty. But the first stop we're going to tonight is in Indianapolis. 5811 Julian Avenue.
So he's like on his way to Chicago because we started in Philadelphia, right? So he's like kind of en route to Chicago.
No.
No? Or he's going
you mean
all
over the
the
course
place.
of time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he's going to end up in London, it sounds like in this episode, but I know what you're saying.
No, he's only telling Carrie he's going to end up in London. You see how confusing this is?
Or was he also committing murders in London?
While on the run... This is why I wanted to get this out the way. While on the run, during this story we're talking about, is when the detectives, Frank Geyer, go through the castle. He already has the castle. He's already been murdering the vat of acid episodes and all that stuff.
Oh, I missed that.
They're going to uncover something, which is a lot of bones and trapdoors and all kinds of crazy shit in the murder castle. And now the whole country's going to be looking for Holmes as he's trying to fandangle his way to kill these kids
and evade the law. So the pharmacy was the murder castle, right? He built a murder castle on top of the pharmacy.
Yeah, I don't start my stories like logically.
No, it's just been a while since I've been here, and it's been a while since I've heard H.H. Holmes. So I'm just trying to keep track of everything.
I'm guessing they blurred it because this is part. People are looking at this address.
Well.
This is the house in Indiana?
Let me tell you the reason they blurred this. For some reason, this is one of the houses that people like to go take a doo-doo on the porch. For some reason.
For real?
Yeah. It happens a lot.
It's poop again.
To this. That's how the homeowners figured out that.
This address is famous for some reason?
Exactly. And the realist, I was reading
You can do this, by the way, if for all of you, PSA, you can get your address like blurred on Google Maps. So for safety reasons, you are able to do that.
Have you guys?
We did in our previous home. Our current home is not on the map yet, so it doesn't matter.
This is
since it's a new build.
This is back there. It's kind of weird too. There's a barn back there, a little shed.
It's like it's not the current homeowner's fault.
No, I know, but it's just like
they did not mention that in the real estate ad.
It's close to the
people poo on your porch.
You have to ask them, just like you have to ask them if a murder happened there. You have to ask them.
No.
Are there poo porch pirates?
Yeah.
No, I looked it up. These homeowners were trying to sue the real estate company because they did not mention there was a brutal murder that happened in this home. However,
but you have to ask.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to ask, don't you?
Not in Indiana, apparently. They have to tell.
Oh, that's a nice law.
It's a nice law.
If I'm a real estate agent, it is.
If you're a buyer, it's a nice law.
It's a great law, but look, it's a wonderful law. That is, if your house hasn't been rebuilt, because this isn't the house in 1800s.
Oh.
So technically, this is a brand new house. It's
not the same house.
No one was murdered in this house. It's a brand new house.
They should have changed the number. If it was a completely new house, they should have changed the number.
True, but do you have to reveal if a murder has happened on the property?
No, because it's just the
property,
house.
But if the property,
I would agree. That's a
gray area.
Gray area. Yes, thank you.
Because if you're buying along the same property lines.
All right, so tonight we're going to 5811 Julian Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana. You saw the home. It was a different home back then, but this is one of the homes that Holmes had rented for this period of time, because remember, he also had to rent Carrie a room. So they were in the same town, but yet they were separated. He would usually be in a hotel traveling. However, he has something nefarious in mind, so he needs the privacy of a home to do this.
Can I go on one more side tangent? You know how you said the other day, you're like, oh my God, somebody should name their construction company Holmes.
No, H.H. Holmes. Like Homes.
There is a show on HGTV, Holmes on Holmes. HOLMES, Holmes on Holmes, because his last name is Holmes. And he does like construction on HGTV.
He's stupid.
He could have done it better to capitalize, but that's okay.
Yeah, no shit.
But this sounds like an Airbnb situation before Airbnb was a thing. He instead of going to a hotel, he went rented the home instead. Yeah. You don't have to do Airbnb. You could do VRBO, Verbo.
Right.
Yeah.
Or Craigslist.
Or you can do
the episode
LISTEN and Please Stop Talking. He rented this home from J.C. Wines, and he paid a month in advance. You can tell how much money Holmes has by all the hotels and the houses he's renting. He does not need this house for a month, but yet he's paying it a month in advance. He's also paying hotel rooms. I mean, this guy is beyond wealthy at this point. And he basically got his murder castle for free. You know?
Well, frizzle.
So he claimed he was renting the property for his sister, his widowed sick sister, A.E. Cook. This facade he used often. This is one of the reasons he's going to get caught. Because when the detective, who was a real-life Sherlock Holmes, when the detective goes and tries to find H.H. Holmes, he uses things like this. Because there's no internet, there's no email. So you got to go to every hotel and every home and be like, hey, here's a drawing of this guy. He may have said he's renting for his widowed sister. So that's the one of the things that got him caught.
Right.
Because he's used that before. You know what I'm saying? So if he would have changed that up, he probably wouldn't have got caught.
Right.
Detective Geyer is tracing the steps of Holmes, and he's the best one to do it because he doesn't give a shit about H.H. Holmes. You know, whatever. This guy killed his business partner. Who gives a shit? I'm looking for the damn kids. Where are the kids? He's going to Indianapolis. He knows Holmes went to Indianapolis. There's no record of where he went. How does he know which houses were rented? He goes to real estate offices and talks to realtors. Was there anyone that rented a house between this date right here? Eventually, he gets lucky, retracing these steps, and that's where he finds the house that we're at now. The two of them, once Holmes rents this house. Now, when Holmes rents this house and shows up the first day, he's only with one of the children, Howard. So not only does Holmes have a hotel for Carrie and the other two children, he's also got a hotel for the daughters, Alice and Nellie, plus he's got a home for himself at this point. So it's a lot. It's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. He shows up with 12-year-old Howard Pitezel, the first one we're talking about tonight. With the help of the groundskeeper at the time, his name was Elvit Moorman, Holmes comes up to him and asks if he can help move a stove into the home. You know, he's renting a month. He didn't bring a bed. He didn't bring any furniture, but for some reason, he wants to bring this big stove called a peninsular oak stove, which you'll find this interesting, Sable. Peninsula Oak was a Detroit company that went bankrupt a long time ago, but this is what those stoves look like.
Oh, that's pretty.
So this is a Peninsula stove from the
bet that is a fortune.
Oh yeah. Look at the detail on it. But like, was it like because there was no heat in the house? Like you don't cook on that.
Yeah. Stove for cooking. Sorry, yeah. Stove for cooking.
But it would also heat the home.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a cooking stove. Yeah.
Oh, so okay. Well, I mean, it's odd that back then, I feel like back then you would typically rent a home that's furnished, right? Or that wasn't a thing back then, like furnished rent for.
I mean, I guess it depended, you know. This house wasn't. I'm sure others were, but
that's interesting because, you know, it's not as easy to move things back then.
That's what I'm saying. So here's another expense. He had to bring this damn stove. So someone had to put that on its own cart, traveling by train, and that was an extra charge. I mean, that thing is heavy. You can't move that by yourself. Thing's like 500 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like a couple hundred pounds.
Shit. Thing's huge.
Now that we've been moving so many mattresses, I feel like I have a good sense of how much something weighs.
No shit, man. Can you read page 85 out of The Torture Doctor by who? Who is it?
David Franca.
Dave Franco?
Geyer wondered to himself what extraordinarily careful management, what evil genius was necessary to have moved these three separate parties about the country, each of them ignorant of the others, even though their paths would nearly cross. Holmes did it, however, and pulled it off successfully.
That's about him traveling.
Wow.
This is going to become kind of eerie. This story gets really dark really quick. Okay, Holmes is not a good character, but the guy that was helping him, the groundskeeper, when they were putting in the stove, had asked him, why not use natural gas? Why drag this big Peninsula Oak stove all over the country? Why don't you just use natural gas? And he says, quote, I don't think natural gas is healthy for children. And remember, he has Howard with him. He only has little Howard with him. And Howard, let me show you a picture of Howard. I don't know if you've, this is him right here.
Oh.
Now, he is older at this point. He was 8. So this is what he would look like.
But still a child.
When he got murdered. Yeah. So.
Terrible.
Now, this boy, Howard, he's being so annoying. Okay, I know you miss your mom. I know you miss your sisters. I know you want to get reunited with your father, but shut up. Holy shit, you're annoying the piss out of me. I'm trying to coordinate all these things. I'm taking you, I'm traveling with you. We're trying to have some bonding time. Because remember, he's like a second father to these children. Stop effing annoying me. Seriously.
From the book Deviant, as for young Howard Pitezel, Holmes also had a story to tell. He had every intention of murdering the 3 Pitezel children, so he hid them in a hotel until he could find a way that would not draw suspicion. After a week, he poisoned the boy and then cut him into pieces, small enough to go through the door of a stove that he had purchased. He felt nothing about these acts, only the pleasure he gained from killing another person.
This boy, 8 years old.
What's up, Jacob?
What's up,
Hey, Jacob.
Holmes describes this murder specifically as, quote, inordinately satisfying, end quote. When Detective Geyer gets there, he knows something bad has happened. He doesn't like the fact that there's a stove there. Actually, the stove, Holmes, when he moved out, he paid for a month, but he only stayed a week. When he moved out, he went to the neighbor and was like, hey, do you want the stove? You can have it.
Dang.
So
I guess that stove was for cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So
wait. But like, what? So did the other kids know that happened to their brother, and they were like, okay,
no, they were in a hotel by themselves. He just separated Howard, the small boy. He was going to kill him.
He's like one at a time.
Yeah, you can't just kill 3 kids all at once.
I mean,
I guess you could.
You could.
But that's not his style.
No.
Yeah, he doesn't get pleasure from that because you would have to kill him quick, Detective Geyer, he gets there. He is not happy that there was a stove here, but okay, let's think about that later. Let's go check out this barn. What's in this barn? Nothing? Okay, good. Oh, here's a little bit of blood. Hope it's not human. It's a little bit here. I'm not liking the look at this. A local doctor, Dr. Thomas, arrives. In his presence was another Dr. J.F. Barnhill and 2 small children with him, perhaps his nephews. 2 small boys. After they found the bloodstains in the barn, the doctor tells these 2 boys, why don't you go and, quote, play detective and try to find this boy's remains because we know they're here. He didn't travel with them. So he's telling these 2 little boys, like 10 years old, to play detective and find bones.
That's like, I mean, like, there's a lot of things that you can tell kids to do to make your life easier. And I feel like that is not, I mean, I feel like it was kind of smart, but not in best taste. Like, because kids will go all out and they'll take a role on and they'll be like, this is what we're doing. But do you really want to expose them to human remains? Like, I don't think that's a smart decision. But I can see why you would want to do it. It makes your life easier.
Well, it's like one of these things about this case that kind of make it, like a little thing like that, like it's crazy, right? Kids are looking for these remains. And they ended up finding them, too. These kids were really good. They must have been reading Sherlock Holmes, I guess.
Or they just have really good imagination.
There was a chimney in the home, and inside the chimney there was a pipe. Why would a chimney need a random pipe that goes nowhere? It's just literally a pipe with a bottom on it. That's weird.
Like goes into the chimney?
No, it's just a pipe that's like a foot long is just stuck to the inside of the chimney. It's not supposed to be there. It has no use whatsoever. What's inside of it?
Oh my gosh, did he beat the kid with the pipe and then stuck it inside the chimney because it was metal and it wouldn't have any effect on the chimney?
Oof.
What?
Well, you've got quite the imagination.
Yeah, especially for like, since we already told you how. Never mind.
Did you? No.
Did he?
You read it. Okay, anyway.
Young Walter had put his arm in the opening and pulled out a handful of ashes, among which was one of the pieces of bone. The boys continued to bring out the ashes and pieces of bone and ran and called the doctors.
So these boys are happy. They just found some bones.
They played Sherlock Holmes and found HH.
Exactly. They just found these bones. They are just excited. Oh my God, this was so much fun. Come look what we found. They were playing detective and they found in this pipe, which they had already pulled out. Oh my God, look, we found it. They pulled out a, quote, large charred mass, plopped it on the ground. This large mass, kind of gooey substance, consisted of the liver, a stomach, and a spleen that was baked quite hard, end quote, together. That was a charred mass, stomach, spleen, liver, baked into one pie. Also, they found the boy's torso and his severed feet, which fit nicely in a 5-quart can. 8-year-old Howard Pitezel. This is what they released. We don't see the charred mass. All we see is these teeth, these dentures here. And also, if you look at the teeth, you can see this is the sign of the age here. I mean, look how bad those teeth are.
They're also, it's a small jaw.
You know?
Those are some scraggly ass teeth.
I know,
there.
right? It makes me wonder what else was found, because in these old stories, they really don't have any qualms about publishing photos that they find. So I kind of wonder how that charred mass really looked. Was it so bad that they couldn't show it, because why would they only show the teeth?
Well, can you...
Especially when they're trying to villainize this man for the country. Like, due process of law and stuff like that, but they're trying to villainize him. So they would want to show these things.
But, like, could they was it easily identified as the stomach, spleen, and liver? Or was it something, because it was all baked together, that's what they, like...
I am curious what it looked like.
Me too.
It probably looked like, I don't know, some, like...
A blob. But
it was baked together quite hard. Can you read from the Miner's Journal, Pottsville?
August 29th, 1895, the chimney is filled with charred bones, said Mr. Barnhill. The entire body, or what was left of it, had crowded into the stove.
Into the stove hole.
Oh.
Can you say into the stove hole?
Was crowded into the stove hole.
He said hole. The first and most characteristic discovery was a piece of skull. The thickness is that of a child about 12 years old. Both plates of the bone are well represented. This is a human skull. For the reason that the sutures are more developed as to the spines than those of any other animal.
You know what it was?
What was it? Was it a 12-year-old boy?
It was bad to the bone.
Bad.
That actually might be a good title.
Oh.
That I came up with.
Gone 3 weeks and already get a title credit.
There you go.
Was it 3? Yeah, it was 3, not 4. 3.
Can you?
It felt like 5.
3 gone. 3 weekends not here.
I know. I missed you guys. I'm glad
you
to be back.
Did you?
I did. Did you miss me? That's what I thought.
All right, Mr. Rick Ross.
I read the next one there.
Holmes said to Mormon. Holmes said to
Elvis.
I keep wanting to think I'm saying it wrong, but I'm
Elvis
saying it
Mormon?
right. No, it's Elvet Mormon. Holmes said to Elvet Mormon, I am not going to put gas in the house, for it would be unhealthy for the boy. And now we find that when the boy's body was burned, corn cobs were used.
Another weird thing, he would...
Like Frosty the Snowman.
He would light... What, did they do that on that movie?
The corn cob pipe and a button nose.
And 2 eyes made out of coal.
What's green and sings? Elvis Parsley.
That's actually I like that. Did you guys hear about the guy that they think is Elvis?
What? No.
I'll save this for during
TikTok.
It's internet. I don't know if I would say it's exclusively TikTok, but there's a guy that sounds just like Elvis, has very similar features, and was at Lisa Marie's funeral, and they think that he is actually Elvis. I'll share it with you during our not story, so that
we watched that Elvis movie a couple months ago. It was actually really good.
It was.
Also,
wait, which one did you watch? Lisa Marie, or did you watch? Not Priscilla or Elvis.
Elvis.
Yeah. That one was good. They both were okay.
So let's talk about what happened. Holmes eventually tells the truth after he tells 10 different lies. Okay, he tells the truth when he knows he's backed into a corner and he might as well come out with it.
But did he tell the truth because of that, or did he tell the truth because he's told so many lies before, so he thought that they wouldn't even look into it?
Exactly. Good job, Jen. All right, here's the truth. Holmes, they knew that the boy had ingested somehow cyanide of potassium because there was an empty bottle of it found in the barn. That was enough to put the boy under, if not kill him. However, he would carve him up into several pieces. But here is an illustration of what we think the final seconds look like of the boy. As you see, there's H.H. Holmes. The boy is on his lap, and his hands are around the throat, and like a vice grip, like an anaconda, they're just constricting as the boy is pretty much unconscious already from the drugs until he's finally dead. We know Holmes is very sadistic. The reason he rented this home and all this stuff is because he wants the pleasure of killing another human being. He doesn't necessarily want them to suffer, but, well, I guess he does. He mostly just wants that power of taking someone's life, because he could have easily killed him with drugs. He's a doctor. He could go to a pharmacy, which he already did, to get the potassium cyanide. He could have got enough of it, which he didn't. So he just got enough to put him under just for a little bit so he can finish the job by choking him to death. And this is kind of accurate because look at his face. He's just like, and he says that the only thing he felt is the thrill of taking another human life.
You know what? He looks like if you zoom out to that image again real quick, go back, zoom out. It's almost look like a ventriloquist who's angry at his puppet for not doing a good job.
Maybe, because he was really annoyed with Howard because he kept complaining. I mean, this guy, all right, Holmes, it's not just they're going all over the country and he's trying to hide them, right? He's taking them out, buying them clothes. These are brand new clothes they're wearing. As you'll see in a minute, he takes the daughters out. They go shopping. There's no budget. They are just playing dress up Barbie. They come from a poor family.
Well, Barbie wasn't a thing then, but
their father is a drunkard who makes no money. They have 5 kids. They never get new clothes. So he takes these kids out and shows them the best life. Ice cream, cake, filling their hopes and dreams. Like, I can't wait to show you Daddy in London. He is there. He is just so happy. You're going to be rich, have a great life. Like, they love Holmes. They love him. They think of him as a second father, a better father. Not that Benjamin is bad or anything, but he's just a drunk. This guy is rich. He's like that uncle that just like spoils them. But yet this kid, Howard, is just complaining. I miss my mama. I miss my daddy. Where's my siblings? It's hot in here.
Was he the youngest of the 3 that he had?
Oh, yeah. Of the 3 that Holmes has, yeah. The other 2 that Carrie have are like
the younger ones, yeah.
Then we know that this boy ends up in the chimney carved up. All right. So we know that murder, but we still got 2 more to get through here. Alice and Nellie is the next one. So right after Holmes kills Howard, their baby brother, he goes back to the hotel like nothing has happened, picks up Alice and Nellie, which are a little bit older. Nellie's 10, Alice is 12, and they make their way to Toronto, Canada. At the same time, ushering Mama to the same city, but keeping her with no knowledge that her babies are literally a block away in another hotel.
Why is that, though?
Because if Mom knows that kids are there, kids will say, hey, Daddy's on a slab, and then Holmes will be found out.
But I get why he's not telling her, but why are they going to the same place? Because
they're both evading the law because of the insurance scandal. Okay. And Carrie, Benjamin Pitezel's husband, now widow, thinks that she's going to go meet him in London. That's why they're going from like Indiana to Toronto, eventually hit London, right?
Right. Okay,
it's very confusing. This is the hardest story I've ever done because of that. But I guess
I just don't understand why he didn't just send her to London. Because she wouldn't find the husband?
Yeah, the husband's dead. Like, what would she do there? Like,
well, she would be waiting for him. Oh, okay,
yeah, he's not there. He's dead.
Okay, so then she would
she would have figured
Holmes.
out
okay.
He's not there.
I got it. Okay, all. I got it. So not only is he in charge of the 3 children that he took, but he is also entertaining her. But she doesn't know that the kids are there.
She has no idea the kids are there.
So where does she think those 3 kids are?
There's one report that I found where little Howard that we just talked about. This was after the murder because they're a block away. Holmes is caught by Carrie shopping by himself. This is when he was with Howard, probably right after the murder, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And he has some underwear that he bought. And luckily he's got that because Carrie's like, "What? Why are you here? Where's my kids?" "Oh, I'm about to go. I just went out to get this nice underwear for Howard. Look, it's a boy's size 8. Now, the reason he's buying this and buying all these clothes is so when Detective Geyer's like, "You killed these kids." No, I didn't. I literally just bought them clothes. Why would I buy them clothes and then kill them?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
But she knows that Holmes is in the same place as her, but doesn't know that the kids are in the same place as her. But she knows that Holmes asked to keep the 3 out of the 5 kids.
Yeah.
So does she think that
they're both running from the law.
Right.
They got 5 kids, so it's best just to split them down the middle.
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And then travel
Separately but to the
so we
same
don't
place.
get caught. Travel separately. We can't just go to London because that's what they're going to be expecting us to do. So we got to kind of make some stops, and then we'll all go to London together. That's
okay. So she knows that Holmes had the 3 kids, but doesn't know that they're in the same town as her. But
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. I think I get it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
this is fucking hard. Like, it took me a while to understand why they were doing this, but it's his elaborate way of covering his tracks.
Right.
It's crazy, you know? He's fucking out of his mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like the thing, like, I didn't kill the kids because I bought them clothes. Like, who thinks of that? Like,
Yeah.
he thinks that far
Yeah.
in. Oh, well.
Why would I be spending my money on someone who doesn't exist?
A jury's going to be like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, those kids are alive. Because remember, he tells Frank Geyer, the detective, that the last time he saw the kids was in Niagara Falls when he dropped them off with Dad, you know, which is a complete fucking lie. But it's so hard to verify this shit back in 1890.
True. Okay, so this is why they go to, but this is why they go to Ontario. So that he can say that he dropped them off with Dad in Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
But Dad's supposed to be in London.
Exactly. So, like, one of the things about Holmes, too, he's unique in the first one to do this, which a couple other people have done. I can't remember exactly who we're talking about, but he gets caught and he's like, you know what? We need to find these kids. Because right now, Holmes, he gets arrested, right? He gets arrested ultimately, and Frank Geyer's like, well, where the hell are the kids? That's when Holmes hires his own private detective to look for the kids. Like, where are they? We need to find these kids. I need to get out of here. I need the world to see that I did the right thing. I'm a great person. I bought them ice cream and clothes. Like, they were here. And then he sends this private detective on this wild goose chase, you know? But it looks like he's actually trying to find the kid. It's fucking nuts, man. After killing Howard, Holmes goes to the hotel, grabs Alice and Nellie, says that Howard had met the father, whatever he tells Alice and Nellie, why their brother's not coming back. And then they travel to Toronto, Canada, at the same time keeping them away from their mother. They get to 16 St. Vincent Street in Toronto, which used to look like this.
Oh, that's a nice little building. Has nice, look what they got, like plants hanging up and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that anymore.
No.
It looks completely different. In fact, it looks just like this. It's now called Bay Street, but it looks...
We have a Bay Street here.
But this is it right here.
Oh, wow.
This is
Very
it.
different.
It's kind of weird to think about. Like, I wonder if they know that anyone that works in this place know that this terrible thing happened here. I mean, obviously, it looks completely different.
Right.
But, all right, I get it.
Well, they changed the address.
Detective Geyer, he goes to the neighborhood after a neighbor of this home called police because Geyer actually did something really smart. He took the chance and put Holmes's face in the newspaper and says, has anyone seen this guy? Because Toronto's big. You're expecting me to go to every real estate office in every town, every hotel, and ask if they've seen a picture of this guy. Like, that is a hard task right there. So he put a ad in the paper and someone did respond where that house that I showed you, it was the neighbor. He said that he saw someone that looked like Holmes with 2 small girls, which would be Alice and Nellie. This neighbor said that Holmes, when he got there, when he rented the place, the first thing he did was ask the neighbor if he could borrow a spade, a shovel.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to grow potatoes. This was odd because at this house, he's only renting it for 1 week, yet he wants to grow potatoes in the basement. Like,
A little fishy.
but I mean, what's the alternative? Like, this guy is going to murder 2 small girls? Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like, that's not going to, so whatever, potatoes, I guess, here.
So were they not pouring concrete in basements yet? Was it still just packed dirt?
Yeah, I guess so. So Holmes only brought 1 mattress with him and a large trunk. They used to carry these large trunks back in the day. And now you have like suitcases and stuff. But back in the day, people wouldn't have their own suitcase. It would just be one large trunk, and everyone throws their shit in there. Then the trunk goes on the back of the train, and it kind of travels with you. That's how that worked. So there was a large trunk with him, plus Alice and Nellie Pitezel, 110, 112, Alice being the older.
Detective Geyer later disclosed what happened, taking the spade and pushing it into the earth so as to determine whether it had been lately dug up. We finally discovered a soft spot in the southwest corner. Forcing the spade into the earth, we found it easy digging, and after going about 1 foot, a horrible stench arose. This convinced us that we were right on the spot, and our coats were thrown off, and with renewed confidence, we continued our digging. The deeper we dug, the more horrible the odor became, and when we reached the depth of 3 feet, we discovered what appeared to be the bone of the forearm of a human being.
Ooh.
And then it goes silent because she can't actually cry, and they're just sitting there like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then an awful shriek of agony that pierces the souls of these burly men standing there. Ah! Here's another weird thing about this case that I found. All right. Like a little, one of those tidbits that you're not going to see in other cases that are modern at all. You just read that Detective Geyer, the first thing he did was ask the neighbor, can he borrow a spade?
Right.
The same spade that Holmes used to bury the children.
Yep.
He's now using that same shovel.
Irony.
He's using the same shovel to look for the children. Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
Yeah,
I mean,
That is kind of weird.
that is wild.
so they did in the southwest corner of this home in the backyard find, or it might have been it was in the basement. I'm pretty sure it was in the basement where he was growing potatoes. But anyway, in the southwest corner, they did find a human forearm, the first thing they found. And then they start pulling out other things. And this is kind of crazy.
Alice was found lying on her side, Geyer recalled, with her hand to the west. Nellie was found lying on her face with her head to the south, her plaited hair hanging neatly down her back, as Nellie's limbs were found resting on Alice's before we began with her. We lifted her as gently as possible, but owing to the decomposed state of the body, the weight of her plaited hair hanging down her back pulled the scalp off her head. A sheet had been spread in which to lay the remains, and after we succeeded in getting it out of the hole, it was placed in the sheet, taken upstairs, and deposited in the coffin.
So here's kind of who you're looking at. These are the girls right here, Alice and Nellie.
And Alice is the one that identified the fathers.
Yeah, exactly. Alice is one.
Now, I do. How long after their murder were they
Found?
retrieved?
Oh, this was relatively quick after, like a month, or less than a month.
They were still like in a decomposed state, though,
Yeah.
but enough to recognize them.
Oh, yeah. So those are, I mean, you see those girls right there. Can you, like, describe kind of how young they are, you know?
Young. Well, you said that Alice was 12, but in these pictures, they look younger than that. Alice looks like she might be 4 or 5, and Ellie looks older than that. I mean, she might be 6 in that photo.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, you didn't get your picture taken like all the time. So
Right.
you might get it like once every 5 years type of thing. Alice was found on her side. The girls were buried on top of each other. Big sister on the top, little sister on the bottom. She was buried on top of her little sister, Nellie.
Well, that would indicate that Ellie was killed first, right?
No, it's just how they
How they were buried?
were buried. They were both buried nude. They were both naked, clothes burned, because they found in the fire charred remains of the clothing. Now, here's like what I really want to get at. The thing about this case is that afternoon, before whatever happened, which I'm going to tell you what happened, before this awful murder, that afternoon, Holmes, who has been with the family for nearly 10 years, going to birthday parties and reading Alice bedtime stories and laughing and having dinner because him and Pitezel were best friends.
Right.
Taking care of them when Carrie has to go visit her mom. They considered Holmes a second father. The afternoon before they met their demise, they were in town shopping. There was no budget. Buy what you want. So think about little girls who have never experienced life like this because they're poor. They can go run around all these expensive shops and try on all this stuff. They're laughing and they have ice cream. To take a break, it's hot outside, get some ice cream, go back. Let's get some shoes. Let's look really pretty. I can get what I want. Oh, can I get a necklace? I know it's expensive. Holmes is like, yes, honey, you definitely can. You look beautiful. Get the necklace. I love those heels. You know, that dress is beautiful on you. All of this stuff happened, and within hours, like Holmes knew he was going to murder both of these girls, and he is just letting them have the time of their life. Isn't that crazy? I mean,
he didn't like sexually assault them, did he?
Hold on. So he's like, go nuts. Money is no object. And as you read, when Detective Geyer finally found Alice, she's the first one pulled out. She had just got her hair done that day too, you know, all pretty. She's looking like a princess. Like she should, you know, like a fashion model maybe. It's like she's always dreamed of something like that, but she could never see herself like that. But here it is. He lifted her head first, as Nicole read. That hair that had all that conditioner and all that product in it was now filled with dirt and crawling with maggots. The dirt was compacted, causing this rotting hair to snag in the ground. And as they lifted her tiny body, that beautiful hair stayed planted in the ground, sliding off of her scalp, as you read. Like her hair is just sliding off of her scalp and leaving that gooey-like substance right there. Isn't that crazy? Can you read what Holmes would say?
Holmes would later say, consider for 8 years before their death, I had been as much a father as I thought they had been my own children.
So going back to Alice, who they just lifted her tiny body out of the grave, she thought Holmes more as a father sometimes than her own drunkard dad, Benjamin. Holmes would sit there and read books to Alice while he was babysitting him, watching her drift to sleep. Holmes, he smiled as he saw how beautiful Alice looked in those clothes that she was trying on in town. Alice, always shy and insecure, but now feeling confident. She's traveling. She's hopeful for the future. She's about to go meet her dad. Her life is going to be different. She's missing her mother, but loving the fact that she's seeing the world. Empowered because she just finished reading Uncle Tom's Cabin, and she knew if she continued her studies, she could make the world a better place. Alice was Holmes's favorite out of all of the 5 children. Thought of her as his own daughter. And this is what he says.
Her death was the least of the wrongs suffered at my hands.
The least of the wrongs, killing her. 12-year-old Alice violently raped before her murder at the hands of this monster. Digging deeper, according to Frank Geyer's own account, Nellie's limbs were found resting on top of Alice's. This is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Detective Geyer told Carrie that, now they're both in prison at this point, Holmes and Carrie. They're both in prison. They think Carrie knew all about the murder and all this stuff. All she knew was that it was a scheme and that she's waiting for her husband. She's technically innocent, although she did know about the money scheme. Now she's asked to come identify her 2 daughters. She just identified her son by his teeth. Now you have to identify your 2 daughters, you know? I mean, how it's crazy. They have to bring her out of her prison cell to go identify her daughters, which you read the account with their scalp coming off. Not very good.
No.
Detective Geyer said that although you need to identify both Alice and Nellie, the sight of either one of these kids would be too much to bear. So we pretty much know that they're yours, but can you at least identify the teeth and the hair, which was departed from the body?
From the book Confessions of the Serial Killer H.H. Holmes, a sob went to her throat, but the brave woman repressed it. Perhaps there is a mistake, she cried, hope again coming to her as it always did. It is possible that the children are not mine.
However, she was shown that, quote, gruesome canvas. She goes into shock for several minutes, just staring at Alice, the first one, on the slab, staring. It was like time froze. You have all these men surrounding her. She's the woman there, staring. These men, these are burly men. They know she's suffering, and they're trying to, okay, yeah, I'm trying to understand, but they'll never understand. The mother just identified her dead son, and now she's identifying both her dead daughters on the same day. They won't understand. She says, Alice, it's Alice. The truth was pitiless. They were her children, Nellie and Alice. An awful moment. It's like she was crying, but she couldn't actually cry. Have you ever been so just hurt? Someone hurt you, or it's just so sad that you can't even cry. It just, it's like you lose your breath. That's how she was, as 5 different men, including the pathologist, including the medical examiner, the detectives, stand around her, not knowing what to do to help her through this situation. And then it goes silent because she can't actually cry, and they're just sitting there like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then an awful shriek of agony that pierces the souls of these burly men standing there. Ah! It would be impossible for these men to begin to fathom this mother's grief at this moment, as she had just identified the remains of 3 of her 5 babies. She cries out, Alice, Nellie, Howard, as her voice would somehow carry them from their slabs and restore them back to health. If she could rewind her life, she would not meet Holmes, even if she had to leave the man that she loved, her babies, her poor babies. These strong men, every one of them, would give anything that they owned at this moment to take this pain from this shattered mother, making sure that at least they're there to catch her when she slumps as her knees buckle underneath her body. What happened to the girls? We know what happened to Howard.
Right.
We know that Holmes could have, if he was, I mean, he's going to be a monster killing a kid, killing 3 kids. You're a monster.
He's a monster.
But
yeah, he's a monster anyway.
You could have gotten enough chloroform. You could have gotten enough cyanide to just kill them.
Yeah.
Like, they fall asleep, they're dead. You're still a monster, but you didn't do that. You only got enough to sedate them because you felt something more from killing them. You felt whatever you felt, and you didn't want them to just die.
Right.
Because you just rented a house. You could have killed Howard in the back of the damn hotel. Whatever. But no, you rented a house and got this majestic stove. You have to live this moment. And the same with the daughters. You're not just going to kill them off with some cyanide. That's cheating. It's cheating Holmes, you know? Like, that's cheating himself. Well, the medical examiners found that both Alice and Nellie, they died from suffocation. Now, I didn't say asphyxiation. They didn't have any choke marks. They died from suffocation. Do you remember I said back in the day, in the 1800s, if you want to travel somewhere, you don't carry a Samsonite, you know? You carry a trunk.
Yeah, I don't think Samsonite was a thing back then.
A handmade wooden trunk.
Like if you're going to Hogwarts.
I don't know that reference. You carry a big trunk with you with all your stuff. A very large trunk. Mm-hmm. Could possibly fit
a body? Maybe
1 or 2. If they're small girls, perhaps. Why are you spoiling that trunk, Mr. Holmes? Alice says, as Holmes is giddily smiling as he takes a drill bit and he drills a little hole in the top of the trunk. I'm not spoiling.
Was a power drill a thing back then?
Yep, DeWalt. Yeah, sure was, Jen. He went to Home Depot and got it, used his military discount. Why are you spoiling that trunk? I'm not spoiling it at all. I'm making it useful. What's that hole for? Asked Nellie. That is to breathe through, said Holmes.
Oh.
Go ahead and climb in and you'll see.
Oh, shit. He made them lay in a trunk?
Get into it, both of you, he hissed in terrible tones, accompanied by a frightful expression of countenance. Get into the trunk. Don't stand up. Lie down. Both of you, lie down. Now then, you can understand why I left the hole in the top. You won't suffocate immediately. When I come back, I'll finish the job.
So he told them that he was killing them. Yeah. That's terrible.
It would take him another 12 hours to go get what he needed to finish the job as they're in this trunk, not suffocating, but scared out of their minds, not knowing what's going to happen. And there's an image that shows everything here. All right, here's a paper of the trunk here. And this is what H.H. Holmes did to it. You see, he drilled a hole just big enough to rig it up there so he can put a pipe in it.
What's up with him and the pipes?
Well, it's more like a tube. So he demands Alice and Nellie to get into this large trunk, locks them inside. With this hole at the top, he inserts a hose, and on the other, he attaches a gas line, like gas to heat the stove, and he turns it on. So basically, both girls at that point are suffocating with gas, and that's how they end up dying. He actually confesses to that murder specifically, and we can read what he says. They were there. This is from the book Confessions of Serial Killer H.H. Holmes. There they were, cramped together in the horrible prison, their little faces blackened and distorted by the manner of their death. Ruthlessly dragging their bodies from the trunk, the inhumane monster preceded them to the cellar. Here he bundled the little corpses into the hole he had made for them and began filling up the hole with a spade he had borrowed. I now, with much reluctance, come to the discussion of the 26th and 27th murders. The victims were Alice and Nellie Pitezel, whose deaths will seem to many to be the saddest of all, both on account of its terrible, heartless manner in which it was accomplished, and because in one instance, that of Alice, the oldest of these children, her death was the least of the wrongs suffered at my hands, which means he raped her, right? I immediately took them to the Vincent Street house and compelled them through the cover of which I made a small opening. Here I left them until I could return at my leisure and kill them. At 5 p.m. I borrowed a spade of a neighbor and at the same time called on Mrs. Pietzel at her hotel. I then returned to my hotel and ate my dinner, and at 7 p.m. went again to Mrs. Pietzel's hotel and aided her in leaving Toronto for Ogdenburg, New York, later than 8 p.m. I again returned to the house where the children were imprisoned and ended their lives by connecting the gas with the trunk. Then came the opening of the trunk and the viewing of their little blackened and distorted faces. Then the digging of their shallow graves in the basement of the house, the ruthless stripping off of their clothing, and the burial without a particle of covering save the cold earth, which I heaped upon them with a fiendish delight. Consider what an awful act this was. Those little innocent and helpless children, the oldest only being 13 years of age, a puny and sickly child, who to look at one would believe much younger. Consider that for 8 years before their death, I had been almost as much a father as though they had been my own children, thus giving them a right to look to me for care and protection. And in your righteous judgment, let your bitterest curses fall upon me. But again, I pray upon me alone. There is little more to tell. The next day was passed in burning the little children's clothing and in resting from my terrible night's work. And upon the 27th, I called the expressmen and had the trunk removed from the house, and after giving the keys to the neighbor, went away to never return again. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Believing that in my depraved nature there is room for such feelings is, I fear, to expect more than would be granted. I can at least and do refrain from calling forth such criticism by openly inviting it. Yeah, that's it, man, for that story.
Wow.
So, I mean,
some crazy shit.
Yeah, he's a monster, man.
Yeah, no shit.
So I think I know we're wrapping. I guess it's what I'm confused about. And maybe this is like, times in the late 1800s versus today. So he's in prison and confesses.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck does he get out of prison and end up in Chicago with a murder castle?
No. This is where the story, listen.
It's crisscross. Crisscross applesauce.
Okay, let me break it down to you.
Break it down.
He gets caught for the murder of Benjamin Pitezel, the insurance fraud.
Correct.
This is after he's been in the castle doing his thing.
All the confessions and all that stuff.
Yeah. So he's on the run now, and while he's on the run, Detective Geyer is going to find him. They find him, put him and Carrie in prison, and then go search the castle. And they start digging in the castle. They're finding all kinds of women's clothing, bones, charred remains, trapdoors.
So he's been doing this for a while.
Trapdoors. They find like a vat of acid that he melted someone in. Like all this shit that he designed as a torture castle, they find while he's in prison. And then that's when it starts coming out. He's already in prison at this point.
So he's done all this terrible shit, and then does the insurance fraud, and then does the kids, and then gets caught for doing the insurance fraud, then the kids, and then they're like, oh wait, but you also did X, Y, and Z in the murder castle.
They go to the castle.
Right.
They go to the castle and start snooping, and that's when they find bones and like obvious trapdoors and torture mechanisms and all kinds of shit that he created.
He thought he was in the clear for all of that stuff because he was never found. He was on the run for exclusively the insurance fraud. He didn't think he was going to get caught for the castle.
He didn't think he was going to get caught. The only reason he got caught was because Detective Geyer was asking questions about where the kids ended up.
Right. So like, if he never did the insurance fraud thing with Pietzel,
he would have never been caught.
Then he never would have been caught for the murders at the castle.
Yeah, he would have never been caught. Wow. Probably. Yeah. Because he's killed a lot before that in the castle. And he's a rich guy.
Right.
And very respected.
And he's a doctor and like all that stuff.
He would have never been caught. But the fact that, but he was doing these insurance things all the time.
Right. But the Pitezel one was the one that got him caught.
Exactly. And he confessed to 27 murders. And you got to understand, like he was murdering. We know that because one of his jobs was selling these cadavers and skeletons to medical schools. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he had like a slab with some contraptions on there to skin a human being, because sometimes a medical school wants just a skeleton. So, okay, I killed this woman here who's from wherever. She's not going to be missed.
But they didn't need to know that. They just needed to know that he had a skeleton. And
yeah,
he was selling
exactly.
them.
And that's how he got so rich.
Right.
All these little schemes. But all these little side hustles he's doing, he's getting rich. And this insurance thing is just one side hustle that he's been doing since he was a teenager. He started doing this and he's good at it. But $10,000 is just too much to ask. Maybe like $250, like little things. Okay. But it's just too much. Plus the guy, Benjamin Pitezel, was a train wreck and he couldn't be trusted. Like, for instance, they tried to kill him off in the first year of this life insurance policy, which was a large life insurance policy for a drunkard who works as a carpenter. Like, why insure this guy? Like, I don't understand, right? Like, what's the point? Plus, they waited to the last minute to pay the premiums on it, and it just seems shady. Plus, like any insurance company, if they're good, they're going to be like asking questions.
Right.
They're not just going to pay out $10,000.
Yeah.
So that's what's got him. Yeah, if it wasn't for the insurance thing, like it'd have been a different story.
Right.
Like he would have went down as like this badass that never been caught, and it'd be so much speculation.
Or would he have, because he wouldn't have been caught, and we wouldn't even know that
his name.
Holmes.
Yeah.
Well, so right now the murder castle is, incidentally, which is weird, maybe a cover up. It is now a government building. The U.S. Postal Service is the location of the murder house. So you cannot go, like the basement.
You can't shit on the porch there.
The basement is still there. The basement is still untouched from all that stuff back in the day.
So we don't know what's down there.
No one goes down there. I was reading the book from his grandson, great-great-grandson, and he said that when he went to visit the U.S. Postal Service, which was the old castle, which his great-great-grandfather had,
right?
Like no one of the employees wanted to go down there. They would not go down there. You know, and that's where he goes down there and he starts digging. And he finds his manuscripts, and then that's why he writes that book about the confessions. Yada yada. Anyway, it's a fucking hard story. Like really hard to do.
Yeah.
Like
it's all over the place because he was trying to run from the law.
If I start with a murder castle,
you don't want to hear anything else about it.
Exactly. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
No, you got to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
I want to know the whole story.
I want to know the whole story.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
I missed everyone. I you know what? I will say now that I'm at the end of the episode, like it's good to be back. I don't like not being here. I have to make that clear.
Well, we're glad
They
you're
shouldn't
back.
have moved away.
You can't say that anymore because we now
You
like
have
we
also-
moved.
you have
We've
also moved away.
But she moved first. Like, whatever.
We moved second. It happened anyway. We're gonna get something to eat.
Life goes on.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. We'll be back tomorrow, obviously, for headlines. So, and then we got stories all week. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Good night, you lovely, lovely people.
Kind of run this shit.